Okay, welcome to our endgame class. Today, instead of talking about studies or actual games, although we are talking about actual games, that's not the point. We're going to talk about your favorite player, Jose Raul Capablanca. And the reason is, Capablanca was known for endgame play. And of course, as you know, we stand on the shoulders of giants. That's how I changed the light bulbs in this place. And even though players a long time ago didn't play endgames as well as we do now, and when I say we, I don't mean any of you, or you at home either.
Totally.
What I mean is, we learned from players not only because they played well, but because they didn't play well, and then we did what was good and didn't do what was bad. So this position, of course, White recaptured. And this is from the match you all know about between Capablanca and Corzo.
Yeah.
And Corzo, of course, was Cuban, and he was thought to be the best player in Cuba. And as you all know, Capablanca became world champion what year?
1904? Or
Oh,
1902.
oh, do you know?
1900.
I was going to say more like 30s.
Yeah. So Capablanca became world champion in 1921 by beating Lasker, of course, and lost the championship to Alicante in 1927. So if he became world champion in 1921, and this game was played in 1901, Capablanca was pretty young. Yeah, I think he was 13 during this match. Anyway, he was clearly better than Corzo, and he was the best player in Cuba when he was a little kid. And also, Capablanca, from what I read on the match before you were all born, was that he played approximately 90 moves per hour. Capablanca played very quickly. Okay, now this position, if you turn on an engine, here says it's equal, because it's equal. And both sides have advantages, right?
Hello.
Have a seat. Yeah. White's advantage is he has a bishop versus a knight. Good job. And bishops are better than knights because I said so. Black's advantage, which doesn't seem very important, is that white has double pawns, but I don't see how that helps black. So I'm guessing if I was playing somebody my rating, I would expect to draw with either side, but I would probably rather have white. Okay, let's see why Capablanca was good at the endgame. Now, he did something I usually don't recommend. He traded everything. Rawr. Okay? And that sort of accentuates the bishop being better than the knight, and especially, as is well known, when you want to win an endgame, especially bishop against knight, but any endgame, you want to have pawns on both sides of the board. In fact, in last week's endgame class, we discussed this, and the class was confused. It was a big surprise there. And I said, if you're trying to win, do you want pawns on both sides of the board, just one side? And like half the class said one side. So that's, if there's no pawns on the board, it's hard to win. In fact, no matter how badly you play, if there were no pawns on the board, probably you would draw. Probably. You could still lose with either color. A knight can lose to a bishop, and a bishop can lose to a knight. It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you lose your piece, though, you're safe. Okay, so I'd probably, again, rather have white here, but I would expect it to be a draw. Okay, and white moved his king up because I said so. And now we're going to vote, because voting's the most fun you can have. And there's 4 of you, that's not good. That means a lot of the votes are going to be 2-2. So if it's 2-2, you'll decide at home by calling me in, and then, yeah, you have to go to Time Machine and call a few weeks earlier. So you can move your king up. Rawr! Probably they won't stop you, which may lose this pawn. Or you can take the knight. That's what you can vote for. Voting's fun. Who votes take the knight? Who votes move your king up? And you abstain. The abstentions have it.
Yeah.
So we have 3-0 with an abstention. King e3. If you take the knight, I would guess black is winning, because black would take with the f pawn, and white's majority on the king side is useless, and black has a protected pass pawn. So, I mean, black might not win, maybe, but black's not going to lose. Okay, and I assume if you take on G3, I'll play King F4.
Bye bye.
So, if you're not gonna play knight takes G3, which you're not, I don't think black should have played knight E4 check. I think black should have moved his king up already. Okay, and he moved back here. So that's strange. So I don't like the way black is playing this endgame. Bishop E2, now he'll take the knight if he plays knight C4 check. Okay. Now, when I teach chess, and it's not just the ending, almost everything I teach applies to all chess, otherwise it would be too hard for you. One thing that I say a lot when I lecture, which applies here, but it can apply to any position, is look for your opponent's best move. And then don't let him do it. Right, Archer?
Yep.
So what's black gonna do next move?
G5.
G5.
G5. So now you can guess Capablanca's move.
H4.
H4, put it in H. Okay? So now he won't play, well, he could play G5, but I doubt it. Okay. Then he played G6. Okay, so again, this looks really boring. It looks like a draw, right? Okay, and again, when you're playing chess, sometimes things are good, and sometimes things aren't good. And when things aren't good for you, sometimes you can change them. Okay, for example, Alexander probably gets like C minus, D plus in school, but if he tried hard, he could get a C, right? Right,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, conversely, if you got A's in school, which was ridiculous,
Which I do.
and you were like, I don't want to get A's, rawr, then you could get like C's if you wanted. So some things in life you
I
can
like
change.
99s.
What?
I like 99s.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't kick. Okay. So, having said that, so I give you guys hints about what to do, right? And then you guys are like, what? Good job. So having said that, what don't you like about white's position?
The double pawns.
Yeah, so what did white do?
G4.
What would Matt Larson do?
G4.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah, now if you trade pawns, we don't have double pawns anymore. Hooray. Okay. And then he played H6, G5 check, takes. And now King E7, it looks more like a draw every day. The problem with King E6, not that there's a problem with it, is eventually I'll play G4 again. Where's Matt Larson when you need him? Whoa, complicated. Play G4 every move. Okay, now, some of you are like, I'm confused, but you were confused when you came in here. Okay, and after the move King E5, which looks obvious, then Knight F7 check just kicks the king away, so that doesn't help at all. G4 takes bishop D3, which was unexpected. Everybody expected one of these moves. When I say everybody, I mean me. But bishop D3 attacks the newly weak G pawn. And you might say, oh, I have a question. Thank you. If he goes here, why is that pawn weak? What are you talking about? Well, I think it's more important for black to stop white from doing this. So if white's going to do this, and white's going to do this, you're probably not going to stop both with your king. You probably need your knight to help out. Okay? And also, if I'm doing stuff and you're defending against it, obviously I have the advantage. Okay, knight F5, and then white took and resigned. Right?
Yeah.
No.
Totally.
Horrible. Okay, so he played king takes G4. Now if it was white's move, he would take on F5 and black would resign. And I could be wrong. In fact, I probably am wrong. I assume king E6 just loses to this. It's got to lose. Yeah, let's see what the engine says. It's got to win for white. Yeah, there we go. Good engine. Good job. Okay, white's incredibly winning. Yeah, because black is in Wang Chung, right?
He's 10.
Everybody Wang Chung tonight. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think that happened. He played knight takes D4, bishop takes G6. Now, black did something good. Black had a slightly worse position, and he's trading all the pawns off. If there's no pawns on the board, as we discussed, it'll be a draw. Now, one thing I noticed that you didn't notice, and even after I tell you, you won't notice it. No, probably after I tell you, you will. Okay, when you have an endgame and you have one bishop, like white does, what do you think about? Arby's? Hope not.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I hate Arby's.
Right, so don't think about that.
Oh.
Why are you thinking about it then?
I'm not.
Terrible. Also, try to get your grades up. C- isn't good.
I have A's in everything.
No, no lying in my class. Only sitting.
But he's not sitting.
Well, then he's lying. Okay, so when you have a bishop and you don't have any other pieces, what do you think about?
Putting your pawns on black. Or in the other color.
Well, now you're thinking too complicated, but you're right. I think about my rook pawns. That's nothing to sneeze at. Okay? And in this position, white does have a rook pawn, but he doesn't have that one. Is that the right queening square?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You want to settle the vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 2-2. So you have to vote at home. We had 2 said yes, 2 said no. Okay, does this bishop control the queening square? Is that the right color?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the right one. So if you took all these things off the board, we just took them all off the board, and all white had was this and this, he's still winning. Okay, if this bishop was on a dark square, it's much more likely it would be a draw. Black could give everything away for the other 3 pawns. Now he can't do that. Okay, so Capablanca has the right rook pawn, that's good. What else is good, even more important in this position, is I have a passed pawn. And I have pawns on both sides of the board. So while black is over here trying to stop my pawn, I can go over here. Right?
No.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
Okay, so black played c5, which I agree with. Black wants to trade all the pawns off. And, as Capablanca liked to say, you should, don't do that. Okay, you should advance your majority. So black has more pawns on the queen side, so he's moving his queen side pawns. King h5, moving his king up the board. Yay, and then I make an extra queen. Okay, or, what super grandmaster wouldn't make a queen?
Nakamura.
Nakamura, he'd make a knight, bishop and knight. Okay. Knight
He's not a
e6.
super grandmaster.
What's that?
He's not a super grandmaster.
Who?
Nakamura.
He's not?
No.
That's very funny, I like that.
He's
The
a
reason it's
27
funny is he's
grade.
not kidding, that's why it's funny. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't do well in school, so we'll give him a break.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so king h6, king f8. Always play king f8, that's close. Bishop f5, knight g7, fianchettoing the knight. Now, with the king on f8 and the knight on g7, that's really hard to queen. That's pretty tough. And also, I have to be careful because some of the winning king and pawn endings are now losing. For example, if black's king gets to g8 and we trade these pieces, this king isn't in position to stop these pawns. So you gotta be a little bit careful. Okay, bishop c8, he saves his pawn. g6, getting close to queening. d4, connect 4. b3, doesn't want black to push his pawns. So we stop him. King g8, okay, now this pawn's not so dangerous anymore. a4, stopping the black pawns again. King f8, and white doesn't do anything. And eventually it seems to me this isn't going to work out for white. Like this isn't happening. Now, as we've discussed in previous classes, but you weren't at any of them, although you might have been, but you weren't listening, okay, is when you're trying to do something in chess and then you can't do it, you don't have to go home and cry. You can stay here and cry. Right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could buy a copy of my book. Which book?
Make your opponents cry.
You.
Cry like a grandmaster.
Cry like a grandmaster, right? So I'm guessing since Capablanca is trying to do this and his opponent won't let him, maybe he'll run his king over here. That's a good idea. Okay, so he played king h7. He's trying. King h6, bishop e2, bishop c4, and now he goes around. He's like, all right, that didn't work. Let's win over here. King e7. The guy's like, no, you can't go over there. No. Okay, and now this is something you've heard of before. It's where black doesn't want to move. So what's it called?
Wait,
Yeah, black's position's pretty good,
Wedding move.
but he has to move. Man.
Pass.
Now, what would Gregory Kaidanov say?
Pass.
Right, but what would Gregory Kaidanov say here? He would say white's winning because white is ahead.
A pawn.
No, they have the same number of pawns.
A life.
He'd say he was.
Opposition.
What's that?
Opposition.
That's close. He would say he's ahead of king. He would say white has a king and black doesn't. Black's king makes no threats and tries to stop white's king. If black's king was over here taking this pawn, then black would have a king. But here black is like, no, stop beating me. So white has an active king, black does not. White has a passed pawn on the 6th rank, black does not. White has a bishop, black does not. So white's winning. Knight h5, bishop e2, king d5, knight e8. Well, if you play king here, if I check you anywhere, you gotta move your king again. And then you don't wanna move your king again, because I'm gonna come one way or the other. So he just let him come in, and then he tried to keep his king stuck. Stalemate. Right? And the knight's blocking the pawn.
Bishop h6.
Well, everything wins. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Bishop h6.
Yeah. He wasn't in a hurry. And then a5, and all the pawns disappear. G7, and now they agree to a draw.
Yeah.
So, oh wait, I'm sorry, the arbiters put the kings in the wrong squares in the center. White actually
Wait,
won.
how'd that knight get dislodged from protecting G7?
Well, that's a good question. In this position after a5, if you take, and I take this pawn, then you're in trouble. So he tried to avoid that by playing knight check. And he probably expected king takes pawn, knight f5, and then king d6. That was his plan. But then he went here and he went, oh, yeah. But here he's really, really, really lost. So you don't have to blame him for blundering. See, there you go. So you don't be like, oh no, knight d6 check, why'd you do that? Luckily it doesn't matter. Right.
But it's
Now-
5 pawns.
What's that?
5 pawns.
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah. So, but here's my point. When you're a low-rated player, you guys know what I'm talking about. And you guys are even worse at home. When you're a low-rated player, you were taught more recently than I was, because I was taught like 45 years ago. You were taught a knight and a bishop are about the same. And the reason you were taught that is a knight and the bishop are about the same.
A
That was
bishop
good
is
teaching.
3.5.
Good teaching. Okay, well, I don't know about that.
No.
But anyway, so in the end game, when there's pawns on both sides of the board, I prefer a bishop quite a bit. Also, in the opening and the middle game, I just like bishops. So this position, black's knight was pretty passive, stopping the passed pawn, and white created a passed pawn because these pawns were on white squares, and white was attacking them and eventually took them. And black got a pawn back, but he didn't get a passed pawn. So, considering Capablanca was a small child and people played chess terribly in the year 1900, that was pretty good. That was a good way to start off the century, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and that's why he was a famous endgame player, because even when he was a kid and nobody played endgames well, he was a kid and played endgames well, so pretty good. Okay, and he won that match with Corzo. Okay, now you never heard of Corzo, because that's the kind of class I teach. So let's think of somebody you have heard of, Frank Marshall. He was named after Mr. Counterattack.
Who's Mr. Counterattack?
Frank J. Marshall Counterattack.
Who's Mr.
Okay, in this position, Marshall played rook f4 for obvious reasons. Right?
3.
Yeah, black's gonna play knight f3 check, forking the king and rook. Okay, now, I've talked about this in previous lectures, but what haven't I talked about? So, when higher rated players are playing, a bishop and a knight just crushes a rook. When you guys are playing, you can just toss a coin, and then it'll probably land on the side.
That's
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah, okay, but these are good players. So, now this was a match Marshall played with Capablanca, and Marshall forgot what the result was.
Did he win?
No, Marshall Capablanca? No. Marshall was good except when he was playing Capablanca, then he wasn't good. Then, yeah, he is. Yeah. Sort of like Akobian's good, unless, he's playing Carlson, then he's not good.
No,
Okay.
So.
So, in this position, Capablanca played a very tricky move recommended by people who aren't me. Bishop e4, shocking the world.
So shocking.
Right. So obviously if I take, which he didn't do, check, now white has two legal moves. This one's risky. And after this, I might have mate, but winning your rook is good enough. I don't need to find anything else. Okay, so Capablanca found a tricky tactic, and he put his bishop in the middle, which I like, and he's threatening mate, which I also like. Okay, now, in the opening, a lot of children who aren't very high rated, they'll give up two pieces for a rook. And then, in the opening and middle game, the two pieces beat the rook because the rook doesn't do anything. Well, even though this is an endgame, if I have two pieces, I can still try to mate you. I have a queen and two pieces. Okay, white decided not to get mated, g3. And now, black made a mistake. In fact, players made a lot of mistakes. But, okay, so in this position, he played knight f3 check, when actually f5 was quite strong. This defends the bishop, you agree.
Yeah.
It threatens the queen, you agree with that.
Yeah.
And it
And
stops the rook.
this rook, that's no good. I can go here and I can go here. Yeah, no good. So f5 would have been sort of simple. He played knight f3 check, king g2. Wow, that's a hard move to make. But if you play king h1 or king f1, that's going to be mate really soon. So this is a psychological problem, is that f5 was a better move, but after knight f3, your opponent has sort of a Sophie's choice, even though it was 1909, and you kids don't know what I'm talking about. Other than that, it was a good analogy. Okay, so he figured king f1's no good, because I made him. King h1's no good, because I made him. And king g2 looks ridiculous. He's walking into double, triple discovered check.
For what?
But he did walk into double, triple discovered check, and then the game went on. So probably he shouldn't have played this move. Okay, he's still probably winning. f5, finally. Okay, now, most of you would analyze this incorrectly, or as I like to say, incorrect. After the trade, which didn't happen, and takes,
Why is moving?
the only move you don't make is,
Bishop
King
takes
of
f3.
6. King of 6.
Bishop takes f3.
well, you didn't hear my question. He did. What was my question? I said, what's the only move you don't make?
Haha. Bishop takes it.
Right, and so any other move would be good. Although I think f4 is terrible. Then I take it and play king g3.
King f6 is also bad, because it pins your pawn. Like you can play g4, you can't take it.
Yeah, that might be okay for white. Might not be.
King G6.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
well I would play h5 because I'm old. That way when you play g4 I have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then if I turn the engine on, it'll cry. And then my computer will break because it'll get wet. Yeah, see the numbers? Not good.
Does it cry?
Anyway, obviously, Marshall's not going to just resign. So he played queen takes b6. Knight takes double check. King went to h2. The annotator says if here that this wins.
What?
Although I must admit I'm confused. I will admit it.
Queen.
I really am confused. I'm not confused as to it winning. I'm confused. Oh, okay, I'm less confused now. Yeah, thinking is a good thing sometimes. So here was what I was confused about. If king h3 loses to queen a1, why doesn't king h2 lose to queen a1? Then I figured out why. You, bathroom's down the hall.
I don't know.
Okay, I think I figured out why. Because if king h2 and you play queen a1, which maybe he played, I don't know. Now you can take this bishop. Whereas, if the white king was on h3, queen h1 would be a good move here, right? It's mate. Yeah. Okay, now you could say, okay. So he played knight f3 check, always repeat. Okay. And then triangle knight g4. What?
What?
What kind of
With the
annotations?
idea, that means with the idea.
Annotations with illegal moves.
That means-
There is no knight g4.
There's also no queen a8.
Oh, correct.
What?
Yeah, so every move illegal. They knight g5, queen a1, and they said knight g4, queen a8. So
makes no sense.
somebody should be fired at chess base.
Oh, they turned
And when I say
around.
somebody, I mean all of them, because I know them. Yeah. Okay, so what they're saying is, let's say you go here, then I double check, and then I play here, and then rawr. Okay.
And then queen a8.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, so he took this, and he took this. Now there's not much left on the board. What's the first thing you think of when you're black?
Queen takes f5.
When you're black?
Rook pawn with
Yeah.
the bishop.
Yeah, there you go.
White-
That guy was in my class before, like 5 minutes ago. This bishop and this rook pawn, that's good. So if black trades queens, that's pretty safe.
Oh wait, it's black's move. Wow.
Yeah, of course, white just play queen e6. If it was white's move, I would do that and that.
And you're losing.
Yeah, well, I would still win. But. Okay, bishop e4, f3, never do that. Never trade, check. Bishop b1,
What?
always play bishop b1. Queen a1, it's like a puzzle.
Or you wrong.
Man, look at him escape. Terrible.
Dramatic exit.
Bishop a2, exclammed. That makes it hard to get checked all the time. Queen b5 with subtle threats. Checkmate. King g6, a5, queen in the center. And this I can't stress enough. Unless you're playing me, you should put your pieces in the center, especially in the endgame. In queen and pawn endgames, queens go in the center. Now remember, if you're playing me, you can do what you want. But when you're playing other people, put your queen in the center. Okay, and he's not worried about this endgame because he knows even if this pawn gets traded for these two, he's still winning. Otherwise, he might be afraid. Yeah, not worried about the endgame at all.
What is the problem?
A6, check. Bishop d5. Man, the queen and bishop coordinate really well.
Isn't it queen and knight?
What?
Queen and knight coordination is really good.
I said queen and bishop.
Yeah, but queen and knight is too.
Why'd you say queen and it's a bishop?
Yeah.
What?
But I just said that queen and knight is good too.
I mean, it's okay. Not as good as queen and bishop, but it's okay. Okay, so then white resigned because my computer said so. It announces mate. It says queen e8's the best move. And then black takes it. Right. So with an extra piece or 2 pieces for a rook, you should play for mate because pieces are good. You shouldn't try to win the endgame when you can mate your opponent. In most endings, I'm always telling my students, make a passed pawn and queen it. So that's what white did. However, usually I'm not showing you endgames where somebody's up a piece. Then you can mate your opponent. So that was very good technique from Capablanca, although he should have trapped the rook earlier. Terrible. When I say terrible, okay. Now, this game made me mad at the internet, which I was already mad at the internet, so that didn't take very much.
New York Rice?
Okay, so Duras was a very good player. In fact, in this tournament, Capablanca went 13-0. Good score. And Duras came in second. And they got this position. And it was funny because white lost this ending, and we're going to talk about this a lot. And the people on the internet said, if only white knew what he was supposed to do. But what they told white to do, he can't do. So if you have white here, and you can make 2 moves in a row, and you're not cheating by taking the rook, that's a good 2 moves in a row, you should play g3 and h4. This is the best pawn structure when you have 3 against 4, because then black can't move his pawns without trading all of them. And, well, if you play g3 here, what move does black play to stop h4?
G5.
g5, so,
GFF.
what the internet wanted white to do, he can't do. So, what are we talking about? Okay, so if this rook was on any other reasonable square, let's say b5 or b7 or b8 or b3, then what move should white play?
H4.
H4, and then you could play G3, and we have the drawing position where it's hard for black to break through. Well, you can't play H4, so people are complaining about nothing. Now, also, I did a deep analysis of this ending, and it turned out white played fine. But since white lost, they said, "Rawr, white played terrible." White didn't play terrible, white made one bad move.
That's still true.
Okay? They were like, "Oh, if only he knew the drawing technique." Yeah, okay, if he made 2 moves in a row, he would know the drawing technique. Okay, so he played rook a7, which I agree with. Capablanca played h5, and now he's going to play h4, and these pawns can't move. So white played g3, and black has 2 moves that make sense, but one of them is better than the other. Raise your hand, what are the 2 moves that make sense for black? You with your hand up.
G5.
Correct, and?
H4.
Right. G5 seems risky because I played rook a5. You have a lot of pawns there.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played h4. Right. Now, we have a tough decision to make here. I agree with white's decision. You can play g4, you can take on h4. And my rule is when you're losing or you're worse, you trade all the pawns off. So he took on h4. I agree. And black, yeah, can you guys not do any of that? Just sit in the chairs. Okay. So now black has very few pawns left, and probably more importantly, he has no passed pawns. And I think players played really well here. I like the way the players played. Black moved his king up, black moved his pawns up. That makes sense. Problem is, the more you move your pawns up for black, which is the only way to win, then you might trade them. Then it's hard to win, there's no pawns left. Okay, so they came to a very important position right around here. Okay, it looks like black did everything he could. Yeah. Okay, and they got this position. And in fact, only now did white make a mistake. Of course, black's getting very close to winning because black's moving his pawns up, and white's getting very close to drawing because we're going to trade some more pawns now. Okay? And in general, 2 against 1 or 1 against 0 is a draw. And here, white blundered, but I know why he blundered. On the internet, they're like, he blundered, what a potser. But I know why he blundered. Okay, he missed some tactics. So in this position, I think there's one move that draws for sure, and one move that might draw. So what's the best move for white? Looking at me doesn't help. You gotta look over there.
E2.
E2 is illegal. Because nothing can go to E2. It's not the guy's turn to
F takes
move.
E3.
F takes E3 is legal.
Rook e8.
Rook E8. Yeah, rook E8's the best move.
Rook A3.
Yeah. What's that?
Rook A3.
That's what he played. That's a blunder.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a blunder because I think he missed the next move. Also, when you randomly yell out moves, you're still wrong. Let me give you an example. When I was in one of the many times I was in college, that was many times, I was in college more times than all of you added up. I dropped out of college before you were born. Anyway, when I was in college, one of my crazy professors, and he was crazy, he said something funny to me. He said, a long time ago, astronomers wondered things. Is it this or is it this? So one astronomer would say this is the truth. The other one would say that's the truth. Then 500 years later, they would actually figure it out. They would have better instruments and stuff. And then he asked the class, when they found out this was true, does that mean that astronomer was right and that astronomer was wrong? And the class went, yeah. And he went, no. You're not right because you say the right answer. You're right because you understand the right answer. For example, if I say how far is Jupiter from Earth and you don't know, and you say some random number, and that number is right.
Savage. Guilt.
Okay, well, you didn't know, you weren't right, you just said some random number. If I ask you 1 billion questions, and you don't know 1 billion of them, and you guess on all of them, you'll be right on one of them. Doesn't make you right, you just said something. So when you all just say random legal moves, and I go, that's the right move, It doesn't matter if you don't know why it's the right move.
Isn't it because, I don't know if it's the Philidor.
Now you're talking.
The Philidor Lucina, but it.
Well, you just named two different positions that aren't
I'm
related
not
to
sure
this.
which one it is.
But that was good. It's neither one here, so that was good. But you named two important positions. And we talked about those in previous classes.
I'm saying I thought you get to that position
Is
after
it
you
also the
after rookie
Vancouver
8.
position?
And then the
Which
pawn.
position are you getting to?
I'm assuming, okay, rookie 8, then I'm assuming there's either push that pawn or that's gonna be a trade there. And you're gonna have king on E1. And those two pawns are hard to attack for both sides without protecting the other.
Right, but Lucina and Philidor positions are two separate positions that aren't related to this.
Okay.
Isn't there
Yeah.
also the Vancouver position?
What's that?
The Vancouver position?
That's like for a class of masters.
Oh, but
Yeah, like in 10 years you can go to that class. That's also not related to this class, to this position. Okay,
But it's not even.
so, I mean, you might as well tell me the sun's out, because it's not. Well, okay.
It is now.
Now, so in this position, the reason rook a3 is wrong is because of a very funny tactic, which obviously white missed. Which, I understand why he missed it. I would have missed it too. Rook e8 is a good general principle move, because you stop the black king from coming over here. If the black king's over here, I'm much less worried. Much less. So you have good instincts. Keep the king away. Okay? And so, forcing the black king to where he wants to go, I'm against it. For example, if I was black, I would want to play king here right now. And then my opponent would resign. Right?
Yeah.
Okay? But if my king went here, my opponent would laugh at me. So your rook e8 makes a lot of sense, right? You stop the king from going where he wants to go, and you hope he goes to some stupid square. Okay, and the rook is great on e8. You're the greatest player ever. Rook on a3 is not good. And after king e4, white played the move he thought would draw, but he got confused. Well, he's losing now. The computer gives some crazy number now.
But isn't it like,
Oh yeah, he forgot
can
to
you look
play
at the
king
crazy
F3.
number?
What?
Look at the crazy number.
What about the crazy number?
Do you look at it?
No, because it tells you the moves. Okay, so what move would you play here with white?
Pawn takes.
Yeah,
Resign.
you have to play pawn takes. If you play king e2, I check, or check. And if you play here, I play rook d or check, yeah. So you play takes, and this is the move that white didn't see. And in fact, the people who analyze the endgame, they're like, Capablanca played gray, and that guy didn't know what he was doing. And that's not true. In this position, white played fine up until now, and should have played rook e8. And he played here, which is a mistake. And then he missed the right move for black here, which Capablanca did not miss. And if I may, if I can go off on a tangent. Oh wait, that's not what going off on a tangent is.
What?
So, when you're playing chess, and you have positions like this, where there's very few pieces on the board, typically, especially children who can't pay attention for more than 5 seconds, they have no video games in their hands, so they're confused. Okay? All they do is play with the chairs now. That's all they can do. Okay? What you tend to do is play too quickly. In fact, in these kinds of positions, one move wins, one move loses, one move draws. It's very important what you do. And actually, the whole game, which you spend hours on, can be determined by one move, which is annoying, especially if you make the wrong move. And here, if black played the obvious move, then white is drawing. And that's probably what white was thinking.
F3.
Never play f3.
Oh.
Right, f3. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and he didn't see f3, obviously. He was thinking f takes e3. Okay? And after f3, it's over. You can resign now. Now, here's the problem. If white doesn't do anything, and white's like, I'll just sit here, black has a very simple winning plan. And then takes this pawn and gets 2 queens. Right?
Yep.
It's a simple winning plan. And you can't like use your king to stop it. In fact, this would be funny if you have a good sense of humor. See how that's mate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that pawn's hard to defend. And obviously black would like 2 passed pawns. That seemed really, really, really unlikely here that these 2 pawns would be passed. Because these 2 pawns are in front of it. Right?
Yep.
However, because he didn't see f3, well, this pawn's passed. And that pawn's really hard to defend. Black's just going to go take it. So, yeah. Now, White tried to stop that by playing king g1. Haha, you can't take my pawn.
Rook d8.
Yeah, well, he played here, which wins this pawn. Okay, now I have another plan. Remember that was my plan? Remember that plan?
Yep.
Now this is my plan. Yeah. Good luck to you. The truth hurts. Yeah, so he stopped that plan, so he can take that with check if you do here. See how tricky he was?
No.
Yeah. Archer, don't do that here, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. You guys shouldn't be here doing this. You should either be in the other room or watching the lecture.
He's
Okay,
pointing at
you're,
stuff.
I know, but you're making noise and I can't give the lecture. Okay, so black wants to play king g3, but this pawn would be hanging. See, white's a good player. He stopped king g3. So black has to be patient and eventually win. Rook check. Now, again, I'll get back to my Sophie's Choice joke, because you can't have more fun than that, right? I can't make jokes about Vegas yet. Actually, I can, because this will be on the air like in a long time. There'll be a lot of Vegas jokes by then, but not today, right? They don't even know what I'm talking about. It's funny. They actually don't.
Blank
It's amazing.
expression.
What?
Blank expression.
Yeah, they're like, what's Vegas? I never heard of it. Okay, but I won't make Tom Petty jokes because that's serious.
Wait, you mean LA?
No. See, he thinks I mean Los Angeles. Yeah, exactly.
No.
I'm not surprised, but you are.
Las
Okay,
Vegas.
now, no
Los
talking.
Angeles.
So the problem is, if you go here, that guy looks pretty good, right? And if you go here, you're not defending your H-pawn. Tough choice. Check. Rook H2. No, what a world. Now you could have gone to G1, which is what I would have done. And then after rook check, I don't know what I would do. What do I do?
Resign.
No, if I go here, man, this is harsh. Tough.
H4.
Phew, yeah. Okay, so he played king f1, rook h2, and he didn't resign. Man, harsh. I would have resigned. Now he resigned. So actually, as far as I'm concerned, the only mistake he made was in this position. He played rook a3 check. This is actually typical at a lower level. People making mistakes by just checking with their rook instead of what you did, sir. Put your rook on a good square and stop your opponent. You turn the engine on, I believe it also likes rook a2. Yeah, rook e8 and rook a2. And when you look at a rook and pawn ending and it says like +1, that usually means it's a draw. When it says +1,000,000, that means it's a win, right? So it thinks rook e8 and rook a2 both draw. When you play here, the red light goes on and it says +6 and it plays f3 and then it says the game's over. Now it gives some crazy numbers, right? Yeah.
It's just
Now,
a-
I have a question. If it's 2 against 2, and you don't analyze 10 moves ahead, because nobody can, explain to me why black's winning. Just from general knowledge and understanding of chess.
I think black is winning because he has like the pass pawn all up in white's grill.
He has a pass pawn on the 6th rank. You!
Because both white pawns are doomed. and-
Both white pawns are terrible. Whites aren't, blacks aren't. Yeah. Anybody want to give me the answer I want? Those answers are correct.
White king's about to be locked out of it.
Black has a king and white doesn't. Black king walks up the board and white's like, I'm gonna chill here on the first rank. Now, conversely, let's put the black king here and let's put the white king here. Now the computer's gonna say something else. It's gonna say white's probably winning. So, and you have to have a king in chess, otherwise you lose. +50.
47.
Right, the truth hurts, right? So, in the end game, if you move your king up like I taught you, and you don't leave your king on the back rank, and it's funny, when I told my son I was gonna lecture on Capablanca Endgames, of course he asked me,
Is that your son?
no,
Archer is.
no,
I'm not.
Oh.
incorrect as usual. No, my son's 26 years old.
Oh.
You know what school he went to?
No.
Old school.
Old school, yeah. My son's also 2200.
That's
My
weird.
son said, oh, you're gonna look at Capablanca Tartakower. Okay, and my response was, I did that last week. So, That's a famous endgame, which I don't care about. What I care about is the reason Capablanca beats Harder Cower in that endgame, which I'm sure you all know, is because Capablanca moved his king up the board, and Harder Cower is like the first rank, that's pretty safe. And then Harder Cower took all of Capablanca's pawns. And Capablanca said, I have a king and you don't. And the director's like, look dude, you gotta stop talking. Yeah, well, somebody got it, yeah. You gotta move your king up in the ending. And I can't say what I wanna say because I'll get in trouble. But you gotta move your king up in the endgame, okay?
Yeah.
Just do it. If you're like, I can move my king up in the ending, or I have another idea, don't have another idea. Move your king up. Okay, then if you lose, it's my fault. You'll never lose, so it won't be my fault. Okay? And if I show you hundreds of endgames, and you wanna know who won them, look who walked their king up and who didn't. Then you'll know who won them. Okay, last one. Capablanca Janowski. Rawr. Okay, now this one's a bit trickier because there's more pieces on the board. Now, this one's very funny. I've actually lectured on this before, but it was a long time ago. I wasn't here. And white and black have different advantages. Okay? So, black has the advantage on what side of the board? Archer. Yeah, sit straight in your chair. Sit normal.
There's sure.
You, don't touch any of the chairs.
On the
Just sit.
There's
The queen side.
Chevrons chair.
Right. No talking. Where does white have the advantage? What part of the board?
King side.
King side. I would have said the
Center.
center, but okay, king side. But I said the center. And you could argue that black has the two bishops, and I would never disagree with you because I'm a grandmaster. I like two bishops. However, somebody who actually thinks instead of two bishops, doesn't think. I'm the guy who doesn't think. I like two bishops. They would say, excuse me, Mr. Two Bishops, this bishop's terrible. What are you talking about? That's the worst bishop ever. Why do you like that bishop? So, if you're a thinking person and you say, well, black has the two bishops, that bishop on d7 can't move, and white has the advantage in the center, I think this is equal. Okay? Now, when I look at the position and I don't turn the engine on, I like black. And the reason is, black has more space on the queen side, and he can actually move on the queen side. White has more space in the center, but you can't move. That's blocked. And two bishops has potential. As Emery Tate would say, latent potential, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what I mean by potential is, this bishop isn't very good now, but give him a minute. Let him play some moves. Okay? Maybe this bishop will magically...
Go to E4.
I shaved my beard today, so I can't do this as much. Maybe he'll magically go to
D4.
E4.
No, D3 is even better.
D3.
D3 is better. Well, obviously this knight's not here when I magically go there. Yeah. And even though you guys think I'm kidding, I'm not kidding. So the point is, I could eventually get my bishop good. I always have more space on the queen side, and we didn't talk about the fact that white has all of his pawns on the same color of his bishop. Boo!
All of his
Now
pieces.
most
All
weak,
of his pieces.
that's correct. Most weaker players like that. They're like, my bishop is defending my pawns. Stronger players like active pieces. We don't like to defend with our bishop, we like to attack with it. That bishop's not going to attack anything, it's going to be blocked by its pawns. And when I turn on the engine, what does the engine say about this position?
White's better.
Who?
White's better.
Black.
I just give a 5-minute speech about why black's better.
I like black.
Right.
Purely because that knight can't get to b4
Yeah.
very easily.
No, because if you played your knight to b4 with the intention of I'm blocking it up and I'm drawing,
G5.
then 'tis other way around English, right. I can still play g5 and win over there. And then you move both ways with your head, and then I'm gonna win somehow. Although I agree that this would be a good defense.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played king f2, Capablanca played on the queen side. He said, I have more space on the queen side. Look at me. Once again, talking during the game. Okay, now he said, I can play for g5. I can play on both sides of the board. And we talked about this is the third time now that I've mentioned if you want to win an endgame, it's much easier when you play on both sides. Okay, then your opponent's like, there, then they resign, because their head hurts.
Ouch,
Right?
ouch.
If it's one side of the board, like the last position, where Capablanca won 4 versus 3, and then 3 versus 2, and then 2 versus 2, that was hard. And that required an error from his opponent. A computer would have drawn, but he made a mistake. Okay, knight to E1, his knight's ready for anything. He doesn't care what black does.
Ready for
Rook G8, king F3, takes, opening up the G file. Now he puts his other rook back, now he's gonna double on the G file. Crazy. Okay, and white blocks it up. Now, these are the kind of positions, in fact, I'll make one more move. I think he plays bishop G3. Oh, he doesn't play bishop G3 there. This is the kind of position where, for a strong player, they're foaming at the mouth.
what?
They're like, wow, this is great for black. And weaker players are like, well, I don't see how you win. And that may be true. It may be there is no way to win. But we don't mind that. Because we know one thing, white is on the super defensive. White is saying, I don't think you can break through. Maybe I can't break through, the game ends in a draw. But white never wins. White's knight is pinned, white's f-pawn is weak, black has doubled rooks on the G file. So if black somehow doesn't break through, the game will end in a draw. If black does break through somewhere, black will win. That's the kind of position I want. I want where you can't win, and I might win. And now here's the third thing, which we never discuss, but is always true. If two supercomputers are playing, and it says black is winning, probably black's gonna win in a tournament game with two humans. If a supercomputer says this is a draw, black can still win because white won't defend like a supercomputer. So even when it's a draw, black often wins. And when it's a win, black always wins because it's hard to play. Don't do that. Yeah. Okay, so he played B4 because he's crashing through with which piece?
Rook.
Yeah, B4, the rooks.
The bishops.
Which bishop?
E7.
Close.
A7.
Yeah, this bishop, which we want to go here. Remember you told me that? You were like bishop E4, bishop D3. Well, obviously, I can't jump over my pawn. That rule wasn't invented until 1918.
It's 1960.
Yeah, that's called the Kerensky rule.
Well then, couldn't you just jump over his pawn? Because
Yeah, but it's 1916, so you can't do it.
Oh.
Okay, so after B4, black's coming in. Roar! Okay, and he did. And now, a lot of people on the internet were furious because
What's
white
the
played
internet
this
back
move.
then?
They were really mad.
What's the internet back then?
They're just internet people. They don't really exist, they're just on the internet. And they were like, Rook A1, what a terrible player. Now in general, I agree, not with the internet people, but with that sentiment. If I want to play here, and my opponent says, oh, I'm going to attack your bishop and force you to do that, okay, that's terrible. But the internet people had a disagreement. They said, black wants to play bishop C2, so why didn't white play
Rook C1.
Rook C1? And then the internet people started fighting.
Oh my god.
They said, Rook C1's a bad move because of this. Those internet people.
King takes F4.
No.
Yeah, internet
bishop
people.
C5.
You're not internet people, you're sitting right here. The people at home are screaming because they're internet people.
King takes F4, bishop G5.
That's the idea, right?
Internet person.
And then knight takes F4, rook takes G1. And black's crashing through. And then they were arguing if rook takes F4 was a good move. Now, I'm a simple man. If I wonder if rook takes F4 is a good move, I don't go on the internet and say it's good, no it's not, yes it is, no it's not. I click this button. Okay, and then the button tells me, is rook takes F4 the right move?
Nope.
So it's not the right move. That was easy. Yeah.
What is?
So let's play rook F4, the red light goes
Oh my
on.
God.
Knight F4, rook G1, knight E2, or knight H3, and the computer says it's equal. See how those are all equal?
Yeah.
So why am I on the internet going, raw, I can just push that button? Okay? So they were like, rook C1 loses to rook F4. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Okay, So rook c1 and rook a1, according to the engine, are both bad, but for different reasons. And that's why weak players are weak. They focus on something and nothing else exists. So in the game, since black played bishop c2, bishop e4, that must be the only thing in the world. And after rook c1, that's the only thing that people look at, is how do I play bishop c2, bishop e4? But, you know, black can move his pawn up here, black can just make random legal moves, and white is in zugzwang.
King b7.
It's hard for white to move here. I'm serious. Right? Because if you move your rook off of c1, I can go here. If you move it to c3, I can take that.
Well, you can move your bishop.
You could, but then you're giving h4 away. So then this is getting better, all this
You can
stuff.
move your
H3.
Yeah,
Ooh.
h3.
You could play h3, then you might be giving away g3. So I move my rook
But the
back.
bishop's there.
Right, but then you can't, that's what I'm saying, you can't move anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at some point you gotta move something. Now, I'm not saying that rook c1 is better than rook a1 or worse, but people on the internet get really mad. I'm like, you'll get mad, you just click that. It's sort of like saying some famous person, they were born in 1930, and the other person's like, no, they're not, they were born in 1940. And then you argue for hours instead of like clicking a button on the internet that tells you.
Yeah.
And then
I
the
mean,
king
like,
is
why
first.
would you, yeah. Now, here's my point. The point is, this is terrible for white, because these rooks are pinning this is all passive for white, and this is all great for black. Look at black's pieces. So, when white makes a move, people get really mad, because all the white moves make his position worse. Okay, so he played for active rook. Bishop g3, and he was like, I blocked up the g file, I have no problem. h5 with the idea of
h4.
h4, right? Rook here, pinning the bishop. Bishop takes knight. h4 doesn't work because the bishop's pinned. So you get rid of the knight, and then you play h4.
Doesn't that win a piece?
No, but it looks like it does. But the guy with white was good.
Okay.
Yeah. You still think it wins a piece. You're still confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that guy was a famous player, played for the World Championship.
I
You're
know.
some kid in the classroom. How does white avoid losing a piece? Confusing the audience.
H3.
Then I play rook g3, winning a piece.
Rook takes bishop, gets an exchange, maybe.
Rook takes bishop. Ah, you want to play rook takes bishop, king takes bishop, h4 check.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did the other way around, but you're right. He did this first.
What?
Yeah,
Rook h3 and
yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah. See, he's not as bad as you thought he was. He's like, you gave all your pawns away, I'm going to get your bishop. Now, we discussed this in a previous position. When you're winning an endgame, the normal way to win is to queen a pawn. If you never queen a pawn, how are you going to win an endgame?
No.
And the answer is, you can mate your opponent. In most endgames in my classes, you don't mate your opponent, there's no pieces left. But black has two rooks. You can mate your opponent with two rooks. So he played rook h2, and he checked, and he played here, and he said, I'm going to mate you. And the thing is, if you go to the back rank, you'll get mated on the back rank, right?
Yeah.
So he went up, and now he'll get mated on the third rank, which is even funnier. Usually that's not where you get mated, but two rooks can mate a king. And after here, you can both get mated if you want. You can also get mated.
King
Oh yeah.
Yeah, king h5, moving your king up in the ending, then you get mated.
Oh.
That's the kind of blunder people make, because you're supposed to move your king up in the endgame. Capablanca said, I would prefer not to get mated. Yeah, now that's very, 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 very hard to stop.
cheating.
Very.
King f6.
Very. Yeah. What's funny is, yeah, if white has the king on a normal square where you don't get mated, I don't even know who has the advantage.
No, because black has his pawn on
He does, but that's pretty strong, and I got some checks, yeah. But yeah,
Maybe a draw.
because your king is here, and my rooks have open lines everywhere, you're gonna get mated. So Capablanca tried to break through on the queen's side, that didn't work. Then he tried to break through on the king's side, and Janowski's like, I can stop both of those. Then he broke through on both. When he put his rooks on the g file, then he played b4, and then bishop a4, and got his bishop in. Now, what opening does this remind you of? With the white squared bishop here behind all these pawns?
French.
The French.
Yeah.
In the French, you're like, my bishop. And then later you're like, my bishop. That's better. Right? Then you're happy. And so the whole game, white had to watch out for b4 and the bishop coming in, because that bishop is crushing. And yeah, this bishop on c3 isn't good. And as the gentleman in the audience pointed out, who isn't acting crazy, if this knight was on b4, that would have been hard for black to play b4. Then maybe we would have tried to break through this way. Got to break through somehow, right? And the bishop on c3, which was stopping the queenside pawns, it then went to g3 to block the rooks. And then black played h5, h4, and said, so what? So the whole game, white was defending, and black was attacking, and black was very patient, and eventually broke through on both sides. And then he mated him. What's this Markellowitz? I never saw that before. All right, and that's why Capablanca was better than the guy you never heard of.
I have heard of it.
Yeah. No, you should have heard of him. He wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I think he lost a match to Lasker. Like, really badly.
Lasker was world champion for like 30 years.
Well, not quite, but close enough. Yeah.
25?
He put all the information he has from sugar packets. So, some of it's right.
What?
It was actually between 25 and 30.
Oh.
Yeah,
27?
Yeah, close enough.
27 and a half.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and as Gene Wilder said in Young Frankenstein,
Class is dismissed.
correct.